episode 496 of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. I will be talking about tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite Grand Slam live from Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens, New York. The Ring of Honor World Championship was on the line. The AEW International Championship, the AEW Women's Championship, and the granddaddy of them all, the AEW World Championship, was on the line in the main event. Also, I might be a little late, but on this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, I will be talking about this year's Pro Wrestling Illustrated PWI 500 and maybe talk some of the news going on in the world of pro wrestling right here, right now. 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Welcome and hello, Wrestling Fanatics. Thank you to tonight's episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. September 20th, AEW Dynamite Grand Slam live from Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens, New York. One of the biggest episodes of AEW Dynamite of the year, one of the biggest nights of the whole year for everyone, and it took place tonight. I hope everyone definitely enjoyed it as much as I did, and I'm going to talk all about it tonight, right here on episode 496 of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Also, like I said in that little preview thing there, I know it's might be just a little tad bit late now, but I just got the newest Pro Wrestling Illustrated December 2023 issue, the 33rd annual PWI 500 in the mail today. Like I said, I'm sure most people that are listening to this podcast right now probably know the top three. It's been talked about all on wrestling podcasts by now, probably Busted Open, I know, has definitely talked about it. And I will talk about that a little later on in this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. I'm Lance Brock. I'm not sure if I don't remember if I mentioned that yet or not. We have a big night, big episode of the podcast. A lot going on for us pro wrestling fans. So let's get started. Let's get right into it. Talk about tonight's AEW Dynamite Grand Slam on TBS. And tonight, Dynamite Grand Slam was live from Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens, New York. Our commentators tonight were the voice of your childhood, Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, and the human suplex machine, Taz. But for the first match, Tony Schiavone was not there, and Excalibur and Taz were joined by the voice of Ring of Honor, Ian Riccaboni. And first off, maybe this is just me, but I noticed a couple different things about tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. And one of the first ones I noticed were the turnbuckle pads. Normally it has in each corner the top and the bottom. Turnbuckle pads are the AEW logo, and the middle ones are the TBS logo. Just like whenever they're on TNT too, the middle turnbuckle pad is the logo of whichever channel that show is on. But tonight, all three turnbuckle pads just had the AEW logo in each corner. And also, another thing I noticed about the ring tonight was the apron that was on facing the hard cam. They actually had like an LED screen there, like how WWE has, and couldn't really tell. Of course, they didn't really see too much of it on the broadcast, but couldn't tell if the side on the opposite side of the hard cam had that LED screen or not. But I noticed that this is the first time AEW has had that, and also in Arthur Ashe Stadium they have the long ramp that goes all the way to the ring, which I am a fan of. Impact uses it sometimes, depending on what venue they are in. Also, WCW, ECW has used it back in the day, and I really like that. Not really sure why I like it so much, but it's just something that I've always been a big fan of. And let's get into our first match. It is winner takes all, title versus title. The Ring of Honor World Championship on the line, and the NJPW Strong Openweight Championship also on the line. We have the Ring of Honor World Champion Claudio Castagnoli with Blackpool Combat Club member Wheeler Yuta in his corner, taking on the NJPW Strong Openweight Champion, the Mad King, Eddie Kingston, to start things off here on Dynamite Grand Slam tonight. And wow, I thought this was a great match. We see in the back as Eddie Kingston is making his way to the ring. He stops off and talks to Penta El Zero Miedo and Alex Abrahantes, and he makes his way out to the ring, and they start off with some chops back and forth, and they go to the outside. Kingston whips Castagnoli into the barricade, and you guessed it, more chops. And I've talked about this before. Claudio and Eddie have a history together in Chikara, which Bryce Rensburg was a part of. AEW is definitely that's one good thing about AEW. They don't forget the past like that in important parts of history. Claudio with a gut-wrench suplex on Kingston, but then he slaps him right in the face, and Kingston hits a German suplex to the apron, and Claudio sends Kingston out onto that ramp with a back suplex. Claudio remains in control. Kingston moves out of the way of a diving headbutt. Then Claudio comes back with an uppercut. Gets a 2 count as we go to picture-in-picture break. And we come back. Claudio is still in control. But Kingston, he is not backing down. He is begging for more. And Claudio gets a lariat in, some elbows, hits the Ricola bomb, which also reminds me of those little cough drops. Ricola. I'm sure all the old people like me remember that commercial. And then Kingston reverses it, gets a 2 count. And Claudio continues, and then he does hit the Ricola bomb. Kingston kicks out at the 2 count, and he comes back, hits a Northern Lights bomb. Claudio kicks out at 2, and then Kingston gets a power bomb for the win, defeating Claudio Castagnoli at 15 minutes, 17 seconds to retain the NJPW Strong Openweight Champion and become the new Ring of Honor World Champion. I just want to say, first match here on Dynamite Grand Slam. I loved it. I thought it was great. This is just my opinion, but this already could be match of the night, or one of the matches of the night anyway. Definitely a candidate for it. I know a lot of people might be saying that I might be saying the bar too high already, since this is just the first match talking about on the show tonight. But I'm going to go ahead, like they say, pull the trigger, give this 5 out of 5 ring bells. And the thing with ring bells, just like over the weekend on Sunday, I heard, or it might have been the weekend before, I heard Dave Meltzer on Mike McGuire's McGuire on Wrestling podcast talk about his star system and pretty much just say that it's his opinion and what he thought about the match, just like pretty much anybody else's rating system, whether they give it 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, 2 thumbs up, whatever they use to rate matches. It's just their opinion, what they think of the match. So hopefully nobody will get upset by what I'm rating this match. It's just what I feel about it right now and what I think about the match. And I think this match, Claudio Castagnoli and Eddie Kingston, definitely deserves 5 out of 5 ring bells. And like I said, definitely a worthy candidate for match of the night tonight on Dynamite Grand Slam. So hopefully nobody will disagree with me too much on this. And be my luck when I don't want to get any emails or comments with feedback. I'll probably get a bunch of them of people telling me that I'm wrong about the rating of this match, the rating of that match. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. But let's move on with Dynamite Grand Slam. And Claudio shows respect to Eddie Kingston post-match, shakes his hand, the code of honor, as Ian Riccaboni brings up. Definitely a show of respect there. And then we see the footage from last week of the Kingdom visiting Roderick Strong at the hospital. And then one half of the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, Better Than You, baby, Adam Cole, shows up, and the Kingdom look upset. They talk about how they're going to Grand Slam, and Cole just showed up when they happen to be leaving, so they leave. And then Adam Cole tells Roddy that he actually has to get to going to Grand Slam as well and be there in the corner of MJF for his match against Samoa Joe tonight. And then Roddy gets mad, tells him to go. And next up, the remarkable Renee Paquette is in the back with the self-proclaimed AEW TNT champion Christian Cage and the actual AEW TNT champion Luchasaurus. They call out Darby Allin. Christian Cage says they challenge Darby Allin to a three-way match for the TNT Championship. And during this interview, Christian even lets it slip out by accident that it really is a handicap match, 2-on-1. But he says there is one stipulation, and that is Sting cannot be at ringside for this match. And it will take place this Friday night on the special 2-hour episode of AEW Rampage. And he brings up Nick Wayne, tells him to bring the boy. And our second match of the night on Dynamite Grand Slam, we have Lionheart, the Demo God, the Ocho, Chris Jericho, taking on the Spanish God, Sammy Guevara. Jericho comes out, usual entrance to Judas as the Queens, New York crowd sings along. And then for Sammy Guevara's entrance, he has a light up vest that looks like Chris Jericho's light up jacket from his WWE days. And Excalibur even mentions on commentary that Sammy Guevara's, the whole vest and his gear are a callback to Chris Jericho's match against Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 19. So I thought this right away was a very nice touch to the match. Made it good already. And they start off, they trade some chops back and forth. And Guevara hits him with a drop kick. And then at this time, they actually do the Sex Gods pose. And a little bit more back and forth. Jericho hits a backbreaker and a springboard off the corner, but he misses it though. He goes crashing to the outside. Guevara hits him with a corkscrew dive, and can't talk. Guevara goes to the top rope. He hits a crossbody for a 2 count. Jericho is able to counter with a code breaker. Guevara rolls out to the apron, and he gets hit with a suplex going to the floor. And at this time, we go to a picture-in-picture break. When we come back, Guevara hits a Spanish fly for a 2 count. And Jericho hits a couple lariats in a row. Guevara actually gets a code breaker of his own in this one for a 2 count. He knocks Jericho off the ring apron onto the commentary desk. Guevara goes to the top rope and hits a moonsault. And then Jericho hits Guevara back inside with a drop kick. And they both go to the top rope. Guevara hits Jericho with a cutter and goes for a cover, but it's only a 2 count as Jericho kicks out. Guevara goes for a lion salt here, but Jericho gets the knees up. He hits a running bulldog, and then he gets the lion salt for a 2 count. And some more back and forth exchanges here. Guevara hits the GTH, and then he goes up to the top rope, goes for the shooting star press, but Jericho counters with the code breaker, and at this time gets the 1-2-3 for the pinfall victory at 15 minutes, 14 seconds. Another fantastic pro wrestling match on this Wednesday night. I thought this was awesome. Not gonna go quite to 5, but I am gonna give this 4 out of 5 ring bells, I'll say. I actually was just thinking about saying and going up to 4.5, but I think I'll stick to 4 out of 5 ring bells for this match. Again, hopefully I won't get too many people in the comment section and on social media complaining about, oh, there was only that many stars, blah, blah, blah. Remember, just my opinion, how much I liked the match. That's all. No biggie. And this post-match was great as well. They reacted pretty much the whole post-match thing that took place at WrestleMania 19 in Seattle. Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels. Jericho and Guevara shake hands. They hug. They act like everything is alright. If you remember at WrestleMania 19, Chris Jericho did the same thing with Shawn Michaels, but then he hit him with a low blow, turning on someone who is pretty much like a hero to him. And then tonight we see Sammy Guevara do the same thing to Chris Jericho. Shake his hand, give him a hug, but then bam, he hit him with a low blow right between the legs. And I talked about this on Good Morning Wrestling Fans this morning. I did expect a turn from one of them, but I wasn't really quite expecting the heel turn to take place just yet tonight. Not really complaining about it though. I just thought that it kind of happened a little sooner than I actually expected it to. I thought that maybe they would have let it go on maybe at least 2 or 3 weeks. That might have been a good time to let that feud build. Then, well, now that they have had Guevara turn heel, they could have that match at Wrestle Dream on October 1st on pay-per-view. But we will just have to wait and see. And next up we see Adam Cole and MJF arriving at Arthur Ashe Stadium. And they look like they're on the same page. But then Adam Cole gets a call on his phone from Roderick Strong. And by the sound of it, Roderick Strong is complaining and crying like a little baby to Adam Cole. So Cole steps away for a bit to take the call, and it kind of looks like that MJF is a little bit upset that his best friend and tag team partner is going off taking that call from Roderick Strong. But I wouldn't say really a whole lot comes from it. But I will talk about that match a little later on. And in the back, once again, the remarkable Renee Paquette. She tries to get some comments from Sammy Guevara, which there's something I forgot to mention about that. When after Guevara turned on Jericho, the invisible hand, Don Callis, made his way to the ring. So as of right now, it looks like Sammy Guevara is joining the Don Callis family, which I think it's great heel heat for Don Callis, especially the way Tony Schiavone and Excalibur talk about how much they hate Don. I think this really gets Don Callis over as a heel. And to me anyway, it's the right kind of heat that you hate this guy and you want to see the top babyface come out and punch him in the face because he's such a bad guy. And it's not that kind of go away heat where you don't want to see him at all. With Don Callis, like I said, you want to see the good guy come out and punch him right in his mouth or his nose, either one or both. And Callis says the kid is money. And now our next match for the AEW International Championship. We have the new AEW. Well, not really new now, but we have the defending AEW International Champion Jon Moxley taking on one half of the Lucha Brothers with the hype man Alex Abrahantes in his corner, Rey Fenix. And Phoenix goes after Moxley on the outside, even before the bell rings on that ramp that I mentioned, and does a running dive off the ramp to the floor on top of Moxley, and hits some chops, chopping Moxley on the barricade. And then finally we get in the ring and the match is officially started. And Moxley gains control here rolling Phoenix and gets a forearm and a stomp for a 2 count. And they do get back out on the floor. Phoenix goes into the crowd. And then a DDT out on the floor. And Phoenix gets a 2 count after a really hard cutter on the floor. And then he goes to the top, gets a frog splash for a 2 count. And just a really lot of great moves here. And as we go to another picture-in-picture break, and we come back, Moxley hits the Gotch-style pile driver during the break that we saw in picture-in-picture. And Phoenix hits some headbutts. Moxley, and he hits a diving foot stomp. And they go out. Moxley hits another pile driver, but Phoenix kicks out at 2. And Moxley gets the win, defeating Rey Fenix to retain the title. Still AEW, or no, I messed that up. Rey Fenix actually gets the win here, defeating Jon Moxley at 11 minutes, 33 seconds to become the new AEW International Champion, and actually only the 3rd International Champion in AEW history. Another really good one. I thought this was a great match. I don't think I'm going to go up to 5 ring bells again, but I'll give this one 3.5 out of 5 ring bells. Really good match, though. Glad to see the new AEW International Champion, Rey Fenix. Really enjoyed this one. I definitely recommend, if you missed Dynamite Grand Slam tonight for some reason, that you definitely go back, check out the replay, watch this match. But really, though, you should watch the whole show. And then we see the Ring of Honor World Television Champion Samoa Joe in the back, cut an interview on MJF. And next up, the AEW Women's World Championship is on the line. Saraya with Ruby Soho in her corner, defending the AEW Women's Championship against Toni Storm. And this is another one that I thought was a really good match. Saraya gets the win, though, defeating Toni Storm. Ruby Soho does get involved a little bit, but Saraya retains the Women's Championship, 8 minutes, 53 seconds. I thought this one was a good match, don't get me wrong, but it could have been better. I don't know if I would really say that it was kept a little too short, but maybe at least a few minutes more would have been a little better. But still, I think I might, even though this was a good match and I enjoyed it, have to give this maybe the lowest rating of the night and give it 3 out of 5 ring bells. Still, like I said, not a bad match. I don't know if I sound like I got a frog in my throat or something. Just a second, gonna take a quick break. And I'm back. Just had to take a quick little break there. Hopefully I sound a little better. And I don't know, I think maybe with all the talking and the podcasts and stuff like that, seems like my voice has been kind of sounding a little weird lately. And here is what we have in store for us this Friday on a special 2-hour episode of Rampage on TNT. We will have the AEW TNT champion Christian Cage and Luchasaurus taking on the team of Darby Allin and the Icon Sting. Freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, Hook, and the AEW TBS champion Chris Statlander will be taking on Anna Jay, Daddy Magic, and Cool Hand Ange 2.0 in a trios match. I'm looking forward to see that one. I think that one should be pretty interesting, to say the least. The Kingdom will be taking on the Hardys, the Righteous, and Best Friends, and the winner of this 4-way match will receive a shot at the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships at Wrestle Dream on pay-per-view. Mike Santana will be in action, and the AEW World Trios Championships will be on the line as the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass Billy Gunn will defend against Dark Order, Evil Uno, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds. Looking forward to that match. And we will see Sky Blue take on Honoring the House of Black, Julia Hart. The Ring of Honor World 6-Man Tag Team Championships are on the line in the main event. The Mogul Embassy taking on Hangman Adam Page and the Young Bucks, main eventing Rampage. And for AEW Saturday Collision, as we found out tonight, Luchasaurus will be defending the AEW TNT Championship against Christian Cage and Darby Allin. But like Christian said earlier, that it actually is more of a 2-on-1 handicap match here. Looking forward to seeing that one. Switchblade Jay White will be taking on Andrade El Idolo. This Saturday Collision will be here in my home state of Michigan, not in Detroit, but in Grand Rapids. And we will see the AEW in-ring return of Michigan's own Rob Van Dam. And we will also see the AEW World Tag Team Championships on the line. FTR, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler defend their tag team titles against the Workhorsemen. Should be a good one there. Then the main event for Saturday Collision, Absolute Ricky Starks versus the American Dragon Bryan Danielson in a Texas death match. Once again, AEW Saturday Collision from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Would be great if I could somehow make it there for that show, but unfortunately, I'll probably just be right here in the 360 studios watching it on TNT just like everyone else. And sorry about that. Didn't get the mute cough button, whatever you want to call it, in time. And for Wrestle Dream, we have Swerve Strickland taking on Hangman Adam Page, the AEW World Tag Team Champions, FTR defending against Aussie Open. And in a dream match, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, taking on Zack Sabre Jr. Which, all I gotta say is, if for some reason you have never seen Zack Sabre Jr. in action before, you've probably been living under a rock, but also you are in for a treat. As something that you definitely do not want to miss. Definitely going to be a great match there. And now it is time for the main event of tonight's Dynamite Grand Slam for the AEW World Championship. The AEW World Champion MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, taking on the Ring of Honor World Television Champion, the Samoan Submission Machine, Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe makes his way out to the ring, making his entrance. And then for the World Champion MJF to come out, we see him in the back, or a video I should say, and it's a callback to Bret Hart in the 90s. They had this video of him that WWF made where he's in the back, and we see a young fan and his dad, and the kid yells at him. Bret turns around and then walks up to him, gives him his glasses, and then leaves. And we see this young boy with his dad yell at MJF. And I think he says something like, "Go get him, champ." And you think, or at least I was thinking anyway, that MJF was going to do a babyface thing here. And maybe, well, he don't have the glasses like Bret Hart does, but I thought that he might take his scarf off and throw it to the kid. Like, who was it? The old football player it was a Coke commercial, I think. It wasn't Joe Namath, was it? I don't know. I don't remember who the football player was, but that old, I'm sure everybody remembers that old classic Coke commercial where, or was it maybe Joe Montana? I don't know. And where the kid yells at him and the player throws his jersey at him. And who knows, I might be way off. It might not even be a quarterback or a Joe. But I know there's probably people listening to the podcast yelling, "No, it was this such and such football player, you dummy." But I'm pretty sure it was a Coke commercial, though. And now let's get on to the match. And I've been looking forward to this match for a long time. And now it is finally here. Things start off a little bit. And we even get a chant from the Queen's crowd. "We are scumbags." And MJF, the neck still bothering him. Samoa Joe goes right after it. Joe gets a kick in and a senton for a 2 count. And we go to a picture-in-picture break. And then back from the break, MJF comes back a little bit, gets control of it, and tries for a clothesline, but Joe counters that with a clothesline of his own. Samoa Joe rips up MJF's shirt. And MJF, that kind of motivates him a little bit to come back. And MJF hits a kangaroo kick, knocking Samoa Joe out to the floor. and Death Valley Driver. Then Joe takes out a table from under the ring, sets it up against the barricade, kind of half up, half down, puts MJF through it, and sends him back in the ring. But MJF kicks out at 2, and Samoa Joe pulls up the mat, which exposes these wood panels, as Excalibur explains on commentary that is what's covering the grass from the tennis, is it a tennis field maybe? Or no, tennis court. Duh. I should have known that. But, and then hits a pile driver on the exposed floor. The medical team checks on MJF, but then Joe sends him back in, goes for a pin, but only a 2 count. And we have a running Liger bomb here for a 2 count. Some more back and forth between the two. Joe hits a low blow, gets the muscle buster, but MJF is able to kick out at 2. He gets the Coquina clutch locked in, and then we see Adam Cole, baby, at this time. He gets MJF to Hulk up, and he comes back, and Cole gets on the apron to distract Samoa Joe a bit, help his friend MJF, and then MJF gets the choke and chokes out Samoa Joe with a wire, I should say, to do like he said he'd do and choke out Samoa Joe. MJF gets the win to retain the AEW World Championship due to referee stoppage, 18 minutes, 42 seconds. And let me just say, just about every match on this show tonight, I loved the main event. I thought it was great. Both guys, MJF and Samoa Joe, were just awesome. And also, I thought Adam Cole helped out quite a bit as well at ringside. I'll have to give this 5 out of 5 ring bells. I know that this is the second time that I have given out 5 ring bells on this show. But once again, that's just my opinion and what I thought of the match. I just really enjoyed it. Who knows? Maybe there are a lot of people who disagree with that. And if you do, you can let me know in the comment section. But you can still leave your feedback for if you agree with me or not. Just let me know what you thought of AEW Dynamite Grand Slam in the comment section, right here on Spreaker, on YouTube, or whichever podcast website or app you listen to on. Either one is fine. Doesn't matter which one you want to comment on or which website. Also, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Like I said, pretty much anywhere you can listen to podcasts. And that was tonight's AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, the third Grand Slam from AEW, or the Dynamite portion of it anyway. It will continue. Grand Slam, that is, this Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern on TNT. right after SmackDown. So I plan on Friday night talking about 4 hours of pro wrestling action. First WWE, Friday night SmackDown, and then AEW Rampage Grand Slam right after that. And move on now, like I said, back at the little preview part of the podcast. I know I'm a little late now talking about it, but in the mail today, maybe I got it a little late, but got the new December 2023 issue of Pro Wrestling Illustrated featuring the 33rd annual PWI 500. I don't know about everybody that is listening to this podcast right now, but growing up, I always read Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Pro Wrestling Illustrated might not have been the first thing I ever read, but I think, and I'm not just saying this, I really think one of the first things that I read was probably a wrestling magazine, even though might not have been PWI. I'd say it was probably either WWF or WCW magazine. And then when I got a little older, when I could actually read instead of just looking at the pictures, I started reading Pro Wrestling Illustrated and all the other magazines. You had PWI sister magazines, Inside Wrestling and The Wrestler. You had Wrestle America, all those Apter mags, Bill Apter, everybody knows him. And I remember at one time during the Attitude Era, there were so many magazines. You could either go into a Walmart or grocery store or a drugstore or bookstore, whichever, and sometimes see about 5 or 6 different wrestling magazines on the shelf. And so I remember when I was a kid in school, I used to go to the store and sometimes get 2 or 3 different wrestling magazines at a time, either the new WWF magazine or the WCW one, and at one time even ECW had a magazine out. So, and the little money that I did get at the time when I was a kid, most of the time was usually spent on wrestling magazines. But now, of course, here in the United States anyway, the only wrestling magazine that is available in the stores or anywhere really is Pro Wrestling Illustrated, of course. WWE stopped making their magazine quite a while ago, and TNA/Impact Wrestling never made a magazine, and by now I would say there's probably 0% chance that we will ever see an AEW magazine, just because it's 2023, so many people buying the digital copies and things like that, that even when you do see a magazine in a store, the selection of them is much smaller. But let's get right into it. Pro Wrestling Illustrated PWI 500. Sorry for talking about wrestling magazines so long. I don't know if I should actually go through the whole list or not, though. And I know that will probably take quite a while. And we have, let's just start off at the bottom. 500, Andre Chase from Chase U, of course, part of NXT, which I have said right here on 360 Wrestling Fanatic that I am definitely not the biggest fan of Chase U, but Andre Chase coming in at number 500 in 2023. $4.99 Big Dust, $4.98 A.K. Willis, $4.97 Aiden Rex, $4.96 Anastasia Morningstar, $4.95 Stan Styles, $4.94 Austin Luke, $4.93 Johnny Robbie, $4.92 George South. Well, he's definitely been in the business for quite a while, mostly as a jobber in the WWF, WCW, in the Carolina area, and he even challenged Nick Gage for the Game Changer Wrestling Championship last fall. Wow, George South, $4.92. $4.91 Andrew Tang, $4.90 Saul Epizera, $4.89 Rob Raddick, $4.88 Love Doug, $4.97 Rico Gonzalez, $4.86 Ben Abe. I hope I'm not saying that too bad. $4.85 MBM, $4.84 Levi Everett, $4.83 Caddy Trey, $4.82 Lord Crew from Cincinnati, Ohio, and $4.81 Mi Young Jae Lee, $4.80 Alpha Zoe, $4.79 El Eleda Manu, $4.78 Moxie Malone, $4.77 Chuck Dixon, I think. Hopefully I said that right. $4.76 VSK, who has competed with the Trustbusters in AEW and Ring of Honor. I'm sure a lot of you have seen him. $4.75 Jocelyn Navarro, $4.74 Colt Cabana, Boom Boom Colt Cabana. Of course, with AEW now, Ring of Honor, and occasionally does his podcast, The Art of Wrestling, which I am definitely a regular listener of. $4.73 Bobby Buffet, $4.72 Kenoshi, $4.71 Davey Vega, $4.70 we have Red Shaw, $4.69 Rachel Armstrong, $4.68 Chris Wilde, $4.67 Ruthless Lala, $4.66 Hanan Shanu, $4.65 Vinny Pacifico, $4.64 Gary J, $4.63 Jeffrey Judd, $4.62 Lucia Lee, $4.61 Jimmy Townsend, $4.60 Max Zero, $4.59 Ken Broadway. 458 Ron Hunt. 457 Dijak, formerly known as Donovan Dijak in Ring of Honor, now competing on NXT, had that whole feud with Tony D'Angelo. 456 Liam Slater. 455 Dak Draper. 454 Derek Neal. 453 Danhausen, very nice, very evil, part of AEW. And of course, I don't think it's out for Nintendo Switch now like I have, but on some systems, I understand you can now download Hook and Hookhausen for AEW Fight Forever. I do hope to download those two soon and then get them on the game, see how they do. 452, we have Ben K. 451 is the world famous cheeseburger, of course mostly famous for Ring of Honor, and has competed for New Japan Pro Wrestling in the past. And 450 is Ricky Marvin. 449, Aaron Henner. 448, Tommy Vendetta. Got, I believe, our first Michigan guy here on the list, who defeated Jake Christ for the XICW Intense Championship in July of 2002. And has competed for other indie promotions here in Michigan. So, I don't know if he'll hear this podcast or not, but congratulations to Tommy Vendetta for being number 448 in the PWI 500. 447, Channing Thomas. 446, Shug D. 445, Zachary Wentz from the Rascals, now in Impact Wrestling. Had a brief stint in WWE NXT. 444, Little Mean Kathleen. 443, Miles Millennium. 442, LSG. 441, Ziggy Hain. 440, Karrion Kross. Of course, now in WWE, formerly Killer Kross. 439, Rebel Kell. 438, Andrew Everett. 437, Puma de Oro. 436, Tanai. 435, Bryce Donovan. 434, Ashton Starr. 433 is Maggot. 432, Alice Crowley. 431, Sonny Kiss, who unfortunately has exited AEW recently. 430, Melo. 429, Bobby Orlando. 428, Kevin Bennett. 427, Zoe Zager. 426, Pete Phoenix. 425, Emerson Jane. 424, Brian Johnson. 423, sorry if I'm losing my voice a little bit, Cody June. 422, Zach Peterson. 421, Unsocial Jordan. 420, Danny Demento. 419, GPA. 418, Jay Vidal, of course, part of the Jawtourage with Giselle Shaw and Savannah Evans, and was actually trained by Gangrel, David Heath, the Vampire Warrior, whichever you want to call him. 417, Aiden Prince. 416, Hikaru. 415, the Triple A Latin American Champion, QT Marshall. 414 is JR Kratos. 413, Vixen. 412, Lucky Ali. 411, Mike Hartblower. 410, we have Bojack. 409, Facade, who I've seen a little bit on the indies. 408, Jaden Newman. 417, Camaro Jackson. 406, Dirty Dango. 405, Jesse Goddard. 404, Devin Monroe. 403, Darian Beanstown. 402 is the Michigan's own War Machine Rhino. 401, Anthony Henry from the Workhorsemen. 400, Josh Woods. 300, Bishop Khan from the Gates of Agony. 398, Stephen Wolf. 307, Yoshihashi. 396, Ja C. 395, JT Dunn. 394, Katsuya Yamada. 393 is the show-off Dolph Ziggler. 392 is Joel Bateman. 391 is Arez. 390, A.R. Fox. 389, Carl Anderson. 388, Alex Colon. 387, J.U. Diz. 486, Jimmy Lloyd. 385, Tarek Hometown. I just kept reading when I should have stopped. His hometown is Toronto. 484, Junior Benito. 383, Hio Del Canis Lupus. 382, Shuka Zakawa. 381, Del Preda Del Morgan. 380, Bobby Beverly. 379, Grado Khan. 378, Malin Aki. 377, Jaden Tagline. 376, Sandra Monroe. Or Sandra Moon, I should say. 375, Takumi Tesamato. 374, Gabriel Kidd. 373, Bad Dude Tito. 372, Juicy Fanu. 371, Charles Crowley. 370, Derek Dillinger. 369, we have Beef. 368, Jay Bougie. 367, Mike Bennett. 366, Kata Murray. 365, Vaughn Vertigo. 364, Max Impaler. 363, Hiroki Goto. 362, Vio Fratelli. 361, Masato Tanaka. 360, we have Marcus Manners. 359, Nick Moretti. 358, Clint Marguerite. 357, Alexia Nicole. I've heard about her quite a bit on the indies. 356, Yo. 355, Trent 7. 354, Yamato. 353, Louis O'Farrell. 352, Anthony Green. 351, Hale. 350, Danny Limelight. 349, Travis Williams. 348, Judas Icarus. 347, Eric Lee. And 346, we have another Michigan guy on the list, Malcolm Monroe III, part of the Monroe dynasty here in Michigan, in the great history of Michigan wrestling, XICW champion, Horror Slam champion, had a feud with Jay Christ, Hoodfoot, and Trey Miguel. Lately, I've seen he's been competing in a lot of death matches. I definitely recommend checking out Malcolm Monroe on the Third on Instagram. He posts a lot of highlights of his matches on there. 345, Agu Blank. 344, MV Young. 343, Big Damo. 342, Sinuko. 341, Cash Flow. 340, Jason Lee. 339, Matt Taven. 338, Chad Gable, which I'm kind of surprised that he's down that low on the list. I know this was probably published before he had that great match with Gunther a couple weeks ago on Raw, obviously, but still, I thought he might have been at least a little higher than that. 337, John Hawking. 336, Evil Uno from the Dark Order. 335, Sherry Stevens. 334, Tai Chi. 333, Mentalo. 332, Insecto. 331, Warhorse, who has been doing these videos on Instagram where he's trying to get a Slim Jim commercial. 333, Horus. 329, Connor Mills. 328, Francisco Akira. 327, Jessica Troy. 326, Storm Grayson. 325, Eamon Asman. 324, Tony D'Angelo. 323, Shane Taylor. 322, O'Shea Edwards. 321, Carlos Zamora. 320, Delilah Doom. 318, Kato Ishada. 318, Vindo. 317, Kid Lekos. 316, Aaron Echo. 315, Ishen. 314, Jake Christ. 313, Jake Shane. 321, Manabu Soya. 311, Jeff Cobb. 310, Jack Morris, not the former Detroit Tigers pitcher. 309, Matt Hader. 308, Joshua Bishop. 307, Mysterious Q. 306, Commander. 305, Edith Surreal. 304, Evil. 303, John Hennigan, now known as Johnny TV in AEW. 302, Starboy Charlie. 301 Clark Connors, which is kind of funny because a lot of times when I go to mention his name or talk about him on the podcast, I get a little confused and I start to say Chuck Connors. Of course, I'm sure everybody knows that Chuck Connors played Lucas McCain on The Rifleman, great Western show that everybody should watch. 300. Cole Roderick. 299 is Baron Corbin. 298 Luchasaurus. 297 Jake something. 296 Benjamin Toll. 295 El Phantasmo. 294 Kofi Kingston. 293 Mahala Bali Shira from Impact Wrestling. 292 Chris Ridgway. 291 TJP. 290 Atticus Kogar. 298 Evan Rivers. 288 Joey Ace. 287 is Corndog. The Sauce God. 286 Paris Van Dale. 285 Carlito, which he returned back at Backlash in Puerto Rico. There were rumors of him coming back to WWE, but as of right now, that doesn't really look like that's going to be happening anytime soon. But who knows? 284 Yuma Anzai. 283 Tommy Knight. 286 Kid Bandit. 281 Jordan Blade. 280 Robbie X. 279 Dalton Castle. 278 Mitch Clark. 277 Il O'Neill. 276 Rich Holland, which there are rumors he had a tryout with WWE at Raw Monday. 275 Isaiah Bronner, the Midwest's best kept secret, who often competes here in Michigan on the Indies and has appeared on AEW TV in the past, has competed for AEW. 274 Kushida. 273 Yua Uemura, who has definitely been impressing in Impact Wrestling as of late, teaming with Joe Hendry as the Team Joya. 272 Kevin Blanchard. 271 Yuki Uno. I don't know why I keep saying words, but 270 Killian McMurphy. 269 Matt Angel. 268 Ricky Shane Page. 267 Hideyoshi Kamade. 266 Adam Brooks. 265 Timothy Thatcher. 264 Lindsay Dorado. 263 Axel Tischer. 261 Tony Deppen. 261 Ricky South. 260 the Trademer, and 259 Ultimo Guerrero. 258 Jordan Clearwater. 257 Bhupinder Kujur. 265 Action Andretti. 255 Tracy Williams. 254 and Puerto Azteca. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong, or any of the names. 253 Dragon Lee. 252 Kevin Knight. 251 Charles Mason. 250 Shazza McKenzie. 249 Ichiban. 248 Kevin Fu. 247 Sawyer Wreck. 246 Ninja Mac. 245, Kenzie Page. 244, Alex Coughlin. 243, Leighton Buzzard. 242, Tommaso Ciampa. 241, Dante Martin. 240, Leon Slater. 239, Robert Dresker. 248, dress, I think that is. 237, Jack Cartwheel. 236, Chris Adonis. 235, Julian Ward. 234, Rich Swann. 233, Dominic Garrini. 232, Brogan Finley, the brother of David Finley and son of Fit Finley. 231, John Cassie. 230, Lance Archer, the Murder Hawk Monster, associated with Jake the Snake Roberts in AEW. 229, Stu Grayson. 228, L.A. Park. 227, Johnny Gargano, who is still missing from WWE TV anyway. 226, Vinny Massaro. 225, the former 10 Allen Angels. 224, Matt Falco. 223, Colby Corino. 222, Drilla Maloney. 221, the most professional wrestler, Brian Myers. 220, Moose, the partner of Brian Myers, the most professional wrestling gods. 219, Kenny King. 228, Yuya Akoe. 217, Matthew Justice. 216, Sami Callihan. 215, Jody Threat, who has competed for Impact Wrestling in the Knockouts division. Also has competed here in Michigan for Clash Wrestling. 214, the Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels. 213, Trick Williams. 212, Silas Mason. 211, Robbie Eagles. 210, Axiom. 209, EC3, Ethan Carter III. 228, Takahashi. 207, Willie Mack. 206, Kez Evans. 205, Ben Narita. 204, Eddie Edwards. 203, Diener. 202, Davey Boy Smith Jr. 201, Mel. 200, Joe Gacy. 199, Myron Reed. 198, Casey Kirk. 197, Brandon Kirk. 196, Lee Moriarty. 195, Sammy D. 194, Lawrence Roman. 193, Matt Hardy. 192 is Perfect Creation 1, PCO. 191, Homicide. 190, The Aristico. 189, Adam Priest. 188, Kyle Fletcher from Aussie Open. 187, Thomas Latimer. 86, Max Caster from The Acclaimed. 85 is Butch, the former Pete Dunne. 184, Dark Sheik. 183, Tyler Bate. 182, Casey Navarro. 181, Dax Harwood from FTR. 180, Omari. 179, Mizuki Weddis. 178, Stuka Jr. 177, Lavino. 176, Tamatanga. 175 from Game Changer Wrestling, Nick Gage. Number 174 is Omos. 173, Marco Estrada. Number 172, J.D. McDonough. 171, Bully Ray. 170, Ethan Page. 169, Drew Parker. 168, Roosh. 167, Robert Anthony. 166, Rekka. 165, Nathan Frazier. 164, Matt Riddle, the original bro. 163, The Man Called Manders. 162, Gringo Loco. 161, Spike Trivet. 160, John Wayne Murdoch. 159, Yoda Tissue. 158, Black Taurus. 157, Mance Warner. 156, Leo Rush. 155, Hoodfoot. 154, Brody King. 153, Juan Akima. 152, Titus Alexander. 151, Ila Dragunov, who I'm not too big of a fan of. 150, Bronson Reed. 149, Ricochet. 148, Tetsuya Endo. 147, Nick Wayne. 146, Shota Umino. 145, Mark Briscoe. 144, Darius Carter. 143, Buddy Matthews. 142, Juice Robinson. 141, The Miz. 140, Santos Escobar. 139, Yuki Yoka. 138, The Bad Boy, Joey Janela. 137, Matt Tremont. 135, Bandito. 135, Allie Ketch, who has been competing with Effie a lot in GCW and other indies. 134, Ace Austin, part of ABC, along with Chris Bay. 133, Minoru Suzuki. 132, Kerry Morton, the son of the legendary Ricky Morton. 131, Alec Price. 130, L.A. Knight. 129, Akira. 128, Atlantis Jr. 127, Taiji Ishimori. 126, Konosuke Takeshita. 125, the other half of ABC, Chris Bay. 124, Laredo Kid. 126, Yuji Okayabashi. 122, Chizuki Yoga. 121, Effie. 120, Takeshiko Nakajima. 119, L. Lindman. 121, Jonathan Gresham, the Octopus. 117, El Hijo del Vikingo. 116, Ricky Knight Jr. 115, El Desperado. 114, Jordan Oliver. 113, Shinsuke Nakamura. Surprised that's a little low. And 112, Swerve Strickland. 111, Yuma Yoichi. 110, we have Chris Sabin representing Michigan and the Motor City Machine Guns, the current Impact Wrestling X Division champion. 109, Kevin Blackwood. 108, Mustafa Ali. 107, Filthy Tom Lawler. 106, Tempero. 105, Fred Rosser. 104, Shibata. 103, the cold-hearted handsome devil Hook. 102, Brian Keith. 101, Jay Lethal. 100, Rina Yamashita. 99, the phenomenal AJ Styles. 98, T-Hawk. 97, Michael Oku. 96, Billy Starks. 95, Calvin Takeman. 94, Dirty Dom, Dominic Mysterio. 93, Shotaro Ashino. 92, Shingo Takagi. 91, Frankie Kazarian. 90, Pac. 89, Chris Brooks. 88, Serrano Jr. 87, Hayata. 86, Master Waldo. 85, Volador Jr. 84, Say His Name and He Appears. I Believe in Joe Hendry. 83, Dragon Rojo. 82, Trisha Dora, sorry. 81 is Cruel. 80, Meta Kyoto. 79, Rocky Romero. 78 is Tristan Archer. 79, Eddie Kingston. 76, Naoki Doi. 75, T10. 74, David Finlay. 73, Jack Perry, the former Jungle Boy. 72, Penta El Zero Miedo, the other half of the Lucha Brothers. 71, Damian Priest. 70, Sam Adonis. 69, Daniel Garcia. 68, Kento Mishara. 67, All Heart Blake Christian. 66, Wes Lee. And 65 actually is the other half of the Lucha Brothers, Ray Phoenix. 64, Shigeru Free. 63, Wheeler Yuta from the Blackpool Combat Club. 62, Tomohiro Ishii. 61, representing the Judgment Day, Finn Balor. 60 is Satoshi Kojima. 59, Powerhouse Hobbs. 58, Tyrus, the former NWA World Champion who is now retiring and is on Fox News a lot. 57, Nick Aldis. 56, Jacob Fatu. 55, Kazuda Higuchi, sorry, don't know why I said that. 54, Sheamus. 53, Rey Mysterio. 52, Psycho Clown. 51, Sammy Guevara. 50 is WWE Hall of Famer Edge, who of course has just retired from WWE recently. 49, Darby Allin. 48, the other half of the Motor City Machine Guns and Impact Wrestling World Champion Alex Shelley. 47, Wardlow. 46, Mystico. 45, A-Town Down, Austin Theory. 44, Yuji Nagata. 43, Absolute Ricky Starks. 42, the ace of New Japan Pro Wrestling, Hiroshi Tanahashi. 44, Steve Macklin. Or 41, Steve Macklin, sorry. 40, Kenta. 39, Speedball Mike Bailey, who I am a big fan of. 38, Solo Sikoa. 37, Braun Breaker. 36, Zack Sabre Jr. 35, Gio. 34, Alex Kane. 33, Shunsuke Walker. 32, Switchblade Jay White. 31, Matt Cardona, of course formerly known as Zack Ryder in the WWE, now competing all over the indies, a lot of times GCW, with Steph D. Lander. 30, Gran Guerrero. 29, Kato Kiyomoa. 28, Hangman Adam Page. 27, Hiromu Takahashi. 26, Drew McIntyre. 25, Kenny Omega. 24, The Ocho, Chris Jericho. 23, Jake Lee. 22, Sami Zayn. 21, Kevin Owens. 20, Trey Miguel. 19, Bobby Lashley. 18, Alexander Hammerstone. 17, Will Ospreay. 16, the American Dragon Bryan Danielson. 15, Masha Slamovich. Very impressive. Has competed mainly for Impact Wrestling as of late and other indies. 14, Samoa Joe. 13, the WWE NXT Champion, Carmelo Hayes. 12, the former Ring of Honor World Champion now, Claudio Castagnoli. Number 11, the IWGP Heavyweight Champion, Sonata. And now we are finally in the top 10. And number 10, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Number 9, from Impact Wrestling, Josh Alexander, the Walking Weapon. Number 8, one of my favorites, spent most of the year as the AEW International Champion, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. Number 7, Kazuchika Okada. Number 6, the current AEW World Champion, MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Number 5, El Hijo del Vikingo. Number 4, the WWE Intercontinental Champion, but not just that, the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion now, Gunther. Number 3 is Jon Moxley. And number 2, the undisputed Universal Champion, Roman Reigns, the head of the table, the tribal chief, whichever you want to call him. And number 1 in the 2023 Pro Wrestling Illustrated PWI 500 from Monday Night Raw, the World's Heavyweight Champion, Seth freaking Rollins. I don't know if I would say I agree with it 100%, but I think a lot of the numbers are okay. And I know everybody, every year, they always find something to complain about the PWI 500. Either, oh, my favorite wrestler was ranked too low, or my favorite wrestler wasn't ranked high enough. This wrestler should have been here. That wrestler should have been there. You can't please everybody. Like Dave Meltzer said, Pro Wrestling Illustrated is their list. They can do what they want. And I still enjoy reading the issue every year. And like I said, I actually just got this year's in the mail today. Maybe I'm a little late getting it, but still, like they say, better late than never. And still a pretty good issue. And let me know in the comments if you got this year's PWI 500 yet. Let me know if you agree with it or if you disagree with it in the comment section right here on Spreaker, YouTube, or whichever podcast website you listen to 360 Wrestling Podcast on. And before I wrap up the podcast, get into a little bit of news here. And the ticket sales were, I don't think it was quite a sellout for Grand Slam, but they did sell more the last few days or so. And I recommend checking out Post Wrestling, either listening to the audio podcast or on their YouTube channel. Pollock and Thurston, I should say. Sorry about that mistake. Hosted by John Pollock from Post Wrestling and Brandon Thurston from WrestleNomics. They interviewed Bill from the popular Twitter page WrestleNomics or WrestleTix. Messing everything up tonight, but that is available on the Post Wrestling YouTube channel. I definitely recommend that. And Jake Hager of AEW, who was a part of the Jericho Appreciation Society, has announced his retirement from MMA, which is fine with me. I think he should stick to pro wrestling. And that looks like just about all the news I have here for tonight on 360 Wrestling Fanatic, episode 496. And I have went pretty long, an hour, 2 minutes. A little past it, I should say now. I'm sorry for going over the whole list of the PWI 500. Hopefully nobody tuned out. And I thank you very much for everyone who tuned into this special live episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Since we had a big episode of AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, this kind of felt like a pay-per-view night. So I wanted to go live tonight. Definitely don't go live every week, but when there is a pay-per-view or a premium live event or a show that is special like a pay-per-view, I do like to go live after. Thank you everyone for tuning in tonight, and I hope to be back tomorrow after part 2 of Impact 1000, celebrating 1000 episodes of Impact Wrestling. I will be back tomorrow morning though, right here for 360 Good Morning Wrestling fans, so hope everyone tunes in. And that's all for tonight's episode. Finally, I know I'm sure there's probably some people listening that probably thought this episode was going to go on and on, like Lamb Chops Play Along. You used to watch when we were kids. At the end, the closing credits, they had the song That Never Ends. This is might have been probably thinking this is the podcast that never ends, but it is ending now. I joke, but of course this isn't the longest podcast anyone has ever done, but might be my longest though. So hope everybody tunes in tomorrow morning for GMWF. Thank you once again everyone for tuning in tonight. Remember, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can leave your feedback on tonight's AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, or anything else you just want to say, what's going on in the world of pro wrestling. Until next time, I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.